In this episode, I interviewed Doug from LinkedIn Learning. Welcome to the Dynamics 365 Practice Show. To review the show notes for this episode, please go to nz365guy.com/31. I'd like to thank the generous contribution from our sponsor, iNorgic. Maplytics by iNorgic is a market-leading certified for Microsoft Dynamics 365 geoanalytic mapping app. Maplytics empowers users with powerful map visualization and routing capabilities within Dynamics CRM to drive better sales, improve business processes, and engage right customers at the right time. Maplytics now works with Dynamics 365 version 9 and Dynamics 365 app for mobile and tablet. iNorgic is a leading Microsoft Gold Dynamics CRM ISV delivering best-in-class Dynamics 365 solutions, as well as cost-effective and high-quality programming services. Hey, hi everybody, I'm here with Doug Winnie to discuss training resources available on LinkedIn Learning. Doug is a principal staff author and technology educator evangelist at LinkedIn. He's focused on computer science, beginning programming topics and related technology fields. At LinkedIn, lynda.com, Adobe, and numerous other companies, Doug has worked to help developers, designers through education, product management, and interactive development. Doug has been nominated twice for Webby Awards for interactive projects for Industrial Light and Magic, and has written multiple publications to teach beginners how to code. When Doug isn't teaching programming technology, he's an avid gamer, app developer, weightlifter, and plays hockey and lacrosse. Doug lives in San Francisco, California. Doug, it's great to have you on the show.
Hey, thank you very much for having me. It's nice to be here.
Excellent. Okay, so, as somebody in the Microsoft camp and has been for some years, we've looked with interest on the acquisition of LinkedIn. Can you tell me a bit about, though, your career, if you like, how you've kind of got involved in education? I know, did I have it right that you worked at some point for Microsoft, or just currently?
Just currently. It's interesting. My history goes back. I had to go back to my parents because I think a lot of things come back to your parents. Both of my parents were educators. My stepfather was a computer technology coordinator for a local school district and a computer teacher. And my mom, she was more of the artist. And what's interesting is that both of those sides of me kind of came together initially as a web designer. So back in the 90s, I started getting really into web design, and I picked up this book called Designing Web Graphics by this amazing woman named Linda Weinman.
Do you know, I think I've got that book myself.
And that kind of got me off on the path of appreciating that design and development had a place together. So I started doing web design originally for the University of Delaware, near where I grew up. And then I moved out to California, San Francisco around 2000. I've been out here ever since. And originally started off as educational technology, software, building e-learning platforms. And then I eventually got into interactive development, mostly with ActionScript and Flash. So that's what led me to Adobe. So after doing some projects for clients like ILM, like you mentioned, did projects for Toyota, Lexus, and a couple other car brands. I eventually got to Adobe as a product manager, trying to find intelligent ways to combine the designer products of Adobe from the former developer products of Macromedia. And this is after the acquisition took place.
Right.
So I was building technologies that combine them all together. So through that, I started learning and getting more of an introduction to the overall interactive design community, including at the time when we think about Microsoft and Silverlight and the old Mix conference and things like that. So, being part of that community eventually got me more into interactive development there. After Flash kind of started declining, I decided to make a switch. So I went to lynda.com, ironically. I kept a friendship with Linda Weinman through her Flash Forward conference and through other things. And eventually was a content manager there focusing on interactive development, which is kind of like an acquisitions editor for a publisher, where you're trying to go out into the community, finding the best teachers for all the things that you need to cover in your topic area. And I was focusing on web design, interactive development, things like that. And over time, after almost next year will be 7 years, became head of the technology library at Lynda, and then a principal instructor doing full-time instruction. And now I'm working as community manager and learning advocate for LinkedIn Learning, which acquired Linda several years ago. And that's been wonderful. So basically my responsibility is to connect and to collaborate with all of our instructors and to partner with as many leadership and influencer communities outside of LinkedIn, which includes, like for you, MVPs at Microsoft. We also are working with the Adobe Community Professional Group, Autodesk's Infinite Group, and we're also reaching out to other programs like Microsoft's AI for Earth, Windows Insiders, and things like that. So it's interesting. It's been a lot of fun. And when the Microsoft acquisition happened of LinkedIn, I always had wanted to work for Microsoft. I never knew it would happen this way. And it's been wonderful, and it's been a great experience.
So just to back up a bit and look at so were you in Adobe after the Macromedia acquisition or before?
Yes, it was after the acquisition.
Gotcha.
So the companies had already kind of come together, and they were really beating their heads against how do we take the descriptive declarative language of Flex and connect that to the component framework of Flex and combine that with Illustrator, Photoshop, and other products. So we developed this technology called FXG, which was a declarative XML-based language to connect the two of them together so that you could then take designs that were in Adobe products and round trip them through Flash platform products like Flash, Flash Catalyst, and FlexBuild.
Yeah. I tell you what, Macromedia was the first products I kind of learnt on, and I just love them. I love the brand. Just amazing, amazing tools back in the early days of the web design era.
I think a lot of people like myself cut their teeth on Dreamweaver when they're getting into web design and web development. And it's fascinating. I more use Visual Studio Code now for web work, but I still have Dreamweaver installed. They actually completely redid the application not too long ago. And it's interesting to see the evolution of how product has gone over the last several years.
Yeah. I mean, I used to teach classes on it myself back in the day, and I still own a copy because I've got the full Adobe suite of products, on the cloud, but I haven't opened it in a long, long, long time. Just another thing you highlighted there is that, lynda.com was purchased by LinkedIn. And was LinkedIn Learning already running all that point, or was it, what was LinkedIn's thinking around acquiring lynda.com?
Well, I mean, LinkedIn's mission is around creating opportunity for the global workforce. And part of that opportunity is about educating around digital skills that can transform someone's career, either to achieve greater heights in their existing career or to change into another career if they wish to. The other aspect is also the concept of a side hustle. How do we want to encourage people that are happy in their career but want to experiment and look in other areas just to help bring more fulfillment or maybe supplement their income or in other ways. So LinkedIn always thought that training and development and having a immersive educational product was a great way to tie that with their overall mission. And at Lynda, the company Lynda was created in the 90s, so it had been around for quite a while, but we had developed into almost a science about how to create an interpersonal connection between the instructor and the learner, even though they're not actually in the same room. And it's something that when you work as an instructor with our team and you are working with a producer, there's that element of bringing your personality and bringing yourself to the training experience, which for a lot of public speakers can be very difficult because when you're recording a Lynda course or a LinkedIn Learning course, you are essentially in a green screen stage with maybe one or two other people in there, or in a recording booth with no one. And a lot of public speakers, they lose that energy that they get from the audience when they're talking to them.
Right.
So finding the right way of retaining that energy that you get and having that positivity and authenticity as a person is something that we bring out in all the courses that we produce.
Wow, that's so good. That's so good. And I tell you, I do have my favorite instructors on LinkedIn Learning that I've, listened to multiple of their courses.
Who are some of your favorites?
So I'm bad with names, but I've done a whole bunch on photography, and there's a guy that I'm pretty sure he must be in California type area. He does a lot of, out in the field shooting and does a full basics of camera, all the way through.
I think you're talking about Ben Long.
Yeah, could well be. And then you've got a range of courses on human-centered design. And I just think it's an area that a lot of Microsoft partners, if you like, traditionally don't have a lot of experience in human-centered design. And the former company I used to work for when I was based in Australia used to do a heck of a lot of it. And we just saw it, in project work. It would transform the way we did projects when you really involve everybody that's involved through observation, etc., when you actually go and create new software. And so you've got a massive range of courses around, HCD up there. And it's impressive.
It's interesting that all of the courses that we record, most of them are recorded all in Santa Barbara, Southern California. And it's, part of I think what makes the courses so interesting is that we try to create a very relaxing environment for the instructors. So, having a nice calm area, Santa Barbara, Carpinteria specifically. It's a nice little sleepy beach town, nice and relaxing. So it starts from the very beginning. We try to create a great author and instructor experience for anyone that's coming to teach with us.
Excellent. So tell me about your current position, Chief Learning Advocate and Community Manager at LinkedIn, your official title. Tell us about what that involves, particularly, I suppose, the audience would be interested in how that works out with what you're doing with Microsoft.
Well, I mean, it's an official title, but there are many hats that go with it. So one of the main things is running the Learning Insider program, which is a program for our instructors on LinkedIn Learning to help them have more of an ongoing relationship with us, whether they're recording a course or whether they already have recorded their course and they're doing work with the community. So we'd like to provide opportunities for them to give back to their community and to constantly get updates from us around best practices around training and other opportunities that they can do for their audiences. The other aspect around learning advocacy, this can go across many different areas. And one of the things that when the acquisition of LinkedIn took place by Microsoft, the acquisition gave us all access to these amazing resources and amazing people to start building these relationships with. So working with the Windows Insider team, the Microsoft MVP team, regional directors, AI for Earth, all these different groups that are trying to provide more opportunities for their influencers and their members to get more training and to get more resources to connect and to reach out to their communities. It was a natural relationship between them and connecting them to the LinkedIn Learning and LinkedIn General Services. So that's been wonderful for everyone because I want to make sure that what we're creating at LinkedIn Learning is valuable for all of the community leaders like yourself, as well as they having the tools that they need to be great leaders for the community. And then other things that we do as an advocate is I actually teach AP Computer Science at a local high school here. I actually came to this recording right after class, my first class for the year. So I teach about 27 students in secondary high school AP Computer Science. And then I also work on a number of other projects some with Microsoft, some with LinkedIn around their makerspace, The Garage, as well as work with some other folks like Donna Sakar on the Insider team and some other projects there. And then at LinkedIn, we have a team of what we call culture champions who work to put on events around a rotating set of themes. Some of those themes could be relationships or creativity, learning, reflection. All these different things rotate over a monthly basis, and we put together programs and events for all the employees to be able to participate in all those themes on a monthly basis.
Mm-hmm. Wow. It seems you're pretty busy.
I am, but I like being busy. So
Nice.
it's always fun coming to work.
Yeah. So tell me, what's the vision and the future for LinkedIn Learning? Where do you see it, let's say 3 years' time? What's the kind of goal, growth, plans, that type of thing?
Well, I mean, we're trying to reach a global audience. And just recently, we launched our training library in Brazilian Portuguese as well as in Mandarin. So, obviously expanding across the globe into as many languages as we can. And those languages are in addition to our existing support for Japanese, Spanish, English, French, and German. So, having more languages where we can take existing content that might be produced first in English and to either translate or adapt those into other languages, or to create original language native content for all those different languages as well. But then also, when we look at where we are taking various topic areas and expanding into new areas through the library. One of the newest areas, we had a creative library, which for years focused more on the creative professional, so photography, illustrators, things like that. But that entire area has had an amazing resurgence with the addition of design and engineering content. So when we think about more of the Autodesk products or BIM or anything that has to do with construction or safety, that's had a huge impact on those industries and being able to provide content for them. And then in the technology area, obviously it's as much as we expand and to cover new topics, there's always going to be the need to revise existing content that we have in the library as well. So it's a constant back and forth of expanding and revising to make sure that we're offering whatever is new, but also making sure we're offering the most revised content available for the topics we already cover.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Wow, that's awesome. It must be a mammoth task, as you say, translating or, doing it in multilingual, that type of thing.
It's interesting. We have a separate team in Graz, Austria, that actually is the main center for our non-English content. And they've done an amazing job of building and expanding and taking a production process and scaling that to thousands of courses a year. So wow. It's quite amazing.
Excellent. So tell me, how have you found the transition with Microsoft acquiring LinkedIn? I understand that business is pretty much as normal, but what are the things that have changed?
Honestly, the only thing that's changed is our ability to reach out to more people. I walk to a LinkedIn building, everything is branded LinkedIn. I take my LinkedIn badge, I go into the office and I do my job. It's like nothing has changed. And, when we think about the LinkedIn culture and all the things that our beliefs and our values and things like that, as a culture champion, I have seen no changes to anything. And if anything, we're actually being more active in being able to express these values and beliefs that we have as LinkedIn, and having the ability to reach out and connect with more Microsoft peers and partners has been amazing, because it's always been it would be great if we could reach out to so-and-so or this team or that team. And now it's just an email away. So it's wonderful to have access to that, but still maintain and live the mission that we have as LinkedIn.
Yeah. So do you see that with this relationship now and the kind of access into Microsoft, do you think that there'll be a lot more Microsoft courses coming to the portfolio as well?
Well, one of the things is that LinkedIn Learning is about being as agnostic as possible around all the technology areas. So as we'll see more integrations between Microsoft and LinkedIn products happen over time, for example, the Sales Navigator integration with Dynamics is an example of that. But as you see more of those, we'll have some content around that. But we're going to be making sure we cover whatever is the latest and most in-demand topics and technologies in the industries. So as we look at Azure content, we also are looking at AWS. We're looking at Office 365. We also are looking at Google Apps. So it's all about providing what the industry needs and having Microsoft available for us to reach out to will just improve our access to be able to provide the best content we can around Microsoft products.
Yeah, that's brilliant that you're still, maintaining that kind of broad view and not, just focusing on the one area, because I think, can be a lot of cross-pollination and learning from that process. So tell me, looking at training in the dynamic space, can you talk me through what's available on LinkedIn Learning for Dynamics 365, and are there any plans in expanding those offerings?
So Dynamics is obviously a evolving product that requires constant updates and diligence to make sure we have the latest materials out there. Some of the instructors that I would recommend the most would be Phil Gold and Ginny Von Corder. We have a course, Dynamics 365, for our LinkedIn Sales Navigator integration course, which is maintained by Ginny. It's an awesome course that shows how the power of LinkedIn tied with Dynamics provides more intelligent data for your CRM platforms. In addition to that, we also have Dynamics courses for various audiences. So we have a course called Dynamics 365 for sales teams, which focuses specifically on individual sales teams and how to best use Dynamics. And then more advanced content that Jenny also creates for Advanced Techniques in Dynamics 365. But the courses that we create are designed to be more agnostic and general for the overall platform, and then provide sales enablement and sales tactics training on top of that. So you can then connect the technology along with the work practices that a sales organization might go through. So being able to do that, you can then take sales tactics, sales training, and technology training and aggregate them all together in learning paths or collections, and then distribute that to your various teams.
Excellent. So not only do you touch on the technology side of things with Dynamics and the LinkedIn integration, but you've got the sales training as well, the ability to roll out plans to individuals. So that leads into my next question is, what's the best way for, people in the Microsoft community, partners, that type of thing, to access LinkedIn Learning? Is it included as part of like a paid subscription with your, with the various type of licenses you can get for professional accounts of LinkedIn? How do people actually get it?
So LinkedIn Learning is available for anyone that has a LinkedIn Premium account. So if you have LinkedIn Premium or another SKU called Career Premium, you have access to LinkedIn Learning. You can also get access to LinkedIn Learning through an individual subscription just for LinkedIn Learning. So you can sign up for that as well. But in addition, if you're trying to provide learning content for organizations of, say, 5 to as many as thousands of people as you can think of, there's also an enterprise product that you can then contact our sales team to then get pricing for how you can then take LinkedIn Learning and distribute it to teams of any size.
Excellent. So there's multiple ways that people can acquire it and consume it. Naturally for, for MVPs in general, it gets included as part of our benefits, which is quite a bonus to have access to that.
Yep. And you just have to go to the MVP benefits site and then request access, and then we'll provide that too.
Yeah, excellent. So are there certifications attached to the courses that you offer, and is there any plans for that?
Certifications are one of those areas where we try to provide certification prep content, but we prefer to have third parties that already are administering the exams to maintain that ownership. So, for example, at the Microsoft Inspire conference, they changed dramatically the Azure certification requirements. So we are right now actively rebuilding those courses to help existing holders of certifications migrate those through recertification exams, or new people trying to get new certifications. In addition to that, we also offer education credits for people that have a PMP certification through PMI. So there are a number of courses you can take which count as credits to maintain your credentials or your certifications with PMI. And there are other things that we're looking at doing over time, but we definitely are focused on exam preparation, but not connecting that directly to the certifications and still having those administered by third parties.
Yeah. So is there any plans to kind of profile more the courses that people have completed? So for example, at the moment, it goes to skills and endorsements. It can track through, but I think one of the drawbacks of that is, well, in my case, I've maxed out my allocation, if you like. And I just wondered if there's an intention to create some separation on your profile to show, hey, these individuals have actually completed LinkedIn Learning courses, as in their entirety type thing. And so that kind of, can be shown or profiled on the individual rather than it appearing under skills and endorsement with everything else.
Having something like that on your profile is one thing, but trying to use the skills that you've learned in LinkedIn Learning and to use that as a way to start conversations on our social network is where we're trying to take things. So demonstrating and being a mentor and supporting others and answering questions, asking questions, and creating conversations on LinkedIn to make the learning experience not just about watching a video, but to have it be interacting with other people in a global community is where we want to take this.
So is that just basically on your LinkedIn profile creating a post about it and what you've done? Is that what you're meaning by sharing it?
It can be. So we have the ability of creating what we call a short form post, which would be like a couple paragraphs you can do on LinkedIn. Then there's the long form LinkedIn articles, which is more for that. And you can also, as a subscriber to LinkedIn Learning, embed videos from LinkedIn Learning into your articles and then use that as a way to talk about and to maybe provide your perspective or what you would like to add to that conversation. You can also, anyone can upload a 10-minute video to LinkedIn as well and add that to your feed. And we've had a lot of people that would love to comment or love to talk about specific training opportunities that might be a little too narrow or niche for us to create a full-blown course on, but it's a great way for them to take their experience and add that to the conversation on LinkedIn and then attach that to other content that we have. And beyond that, we're always looking to find new ways for us to connect all these various community, LinkedIn groups, all these different things more intelligently together. And I think that you'll see over the course of the year, you'll see more of those coming out.
Excellent, excellent. So I want to switch gears and focus a little bit now on the future of training and learning in general. And so not really specific to LinkedIn, but what changes do you see coming in the way people are going to learn and acquire skills, in the coming years?
Well, I mean, we do a study called the Workplace Learning Report. And one of the things we have found in that is that the generation of individuals entering into the job market today see that learning and development and the ability to grow your skills is number one, if not the number two thing that people are looking for from their employers. So having as many ways to do that as possible is one of the things that they're expecting from whomever they're working for to provide. What's interesting for me is my perspective is I've been a trainer for several years, decade and more, and, building content. Before I came to LinkedIn, that was more instructor-led training where I'd be in front of a group of people, actually back in the day, teaching OS2 to bank employees. It's dating me a little bit, but there you go. And then transitioning that to the video training where it was on demand, whenever I needed to do it, micro-learning, thinking about what can I learn in 5 minutes that I can integrate into my day. That's been a big shift for us. But then also, in the classroom instruction I do at the high school level, working and sitting down with 17 and 18-year-olds that are going to soon enter into the workforce and seeing how they learn is so much different than what I expected. What I have found is when we look at the proliferation of tablets and phones and all these different things, I think we kept feeling that everything was going to go digital. What I have been noticing, though, is how traditional sketching, drawing, note-taking still is analog, but is on a digital capturing device. That's where I see products like Surface being as popular as they are, or the iPad Pro with the Apple Pencil and things like that. I looked at so many of my students that are taking notes by handwriting on their iPads or their Surfaces, and trying to have that. There's a battle, I think, for a lot of older teenagers and people in their young 20s that are feeling compelled to use technology so much and are still trying to find a way to make it tactile. So trying to have that grounding in terms of a tactile experience of learning, I feel is important for us to consider when we're going forward. So video is wonderful, but having that opportunity to make it interpersonal, to connect it to other people, to use the initial training content as not the completion, but the starting point for the learning, and to continue that through interpersonal relationships and relationship building, but then also having a tactile way to provide context and representation of what you've learned.
Interesting. That tactile element is still, a key part. I find that, I would love the option of having both of them together. So, for example, if someone's presenting in front of me that their PowerPoint is on my screen, I can note over the top of it in real time, like the text is active. They're not, static images like taking a photo and then loading and writing over the top type thing.
Right.
So
exactly.
yeah. So it'll be interesting to see where that goes. So do you see any changes coming to online learning, as in so that really that traditional e-learning type experience? Do you see, perhaps crystal balling what future technology might change there?
I think you'll just see a lot more social interaction and the validation of content through social proof. So when we look at how we want to start conversations between individuals that are learning at the same time, where you might have felt that you were either on the bus or on the train watching your course on your iPhone or your Android and feeling very isolated and alone, to create opportunities for those learners to connect and to learn from other people that are in the same exact position that they're in. They're trying to learn skills, trying to grow their careers or create opportunities for themselves. And the best way to do that is to communicate and collaborate with other people. So I think you'll see a lot more of that type of opportunity and behavior being introduced into the learning platform.
Yeah, interesting. You mentioned there microlearning as a trend, and I take it, correct me if I'm wrong, this is the idea that it's almost like just-in-time learning. You need to learn how to do something, so you log in, do a search for it, and you learn, is that what microlearning is, or is there more to it?
I can see a lot of different things. A lot of it is, when I think about microlearning, what can I learn in 10 minutes? I've got 10 minutes free. I'm in between meetings. I could grab a cup of coffee and sit down with my phone or my tablet or my laptop and just learn something. So we specifically design our courses so that each video is on average about 3 to 5 minutes long. So you have the ability of chipping away at a larger learning concept over time, and you don't have to feel that you have to interrupt. So when people have to pause at the middle of a video, it can really sour the educational experience. We try to create nuggets of content that are small enough that you can consume individually.
Okay, so the idea of the, let's say, 10 hours of learning is not going away. You're just breaking it down into, bite sizes so you can, take it as needed.
We want to make it as adaptable as possible for all kinds of different learning styles. Some people love to just hold themselves away in a room and just dive into it and go through it from beginning to end. Some people want to do it during their lunch hour and say, I've got an hour, I'm going to go through as many as I can. And other people just want to do it on their commute or on other ways. The other thing I think you'll find is through machine learning and AI that has only been made possible through collaboration with Microsoft, you'll find that searching and the ability to find content on LinkedIn Learning is going to get much better. So that's kind of the just-in-time learning where it's like, especially as a software developer, I need to fix this problem. Help me fix this problem now. And having the ability of providing exactly what you need through that. So in addition to obviously the course title and course name and topics and things like that, there are transcripts for almost every single course we have. So you can then scan through those and providing more ready searchable access to all the metadata for a course so that you can find what you want as quickly as possible.
Yeah, excellent. Is there anything we haven't covered that we should before we get on to the quick-fire questions?
Wow, we went through it fast.
We did. We've covered some good ground. So perhaps we'll move on to quick-fire questions. Tell me, what books, blogs, or podcasts do you recommend most to people? And this is not in the Microsoft area. This is just in general life.
Let's see. Podcast, Scott Hanselman, hands down. I listen to his podcast all the time, as well as the Windows Insider podcast. Those are probably the ones. James Bonding. I'm a huge James Bond fan. And James Bond, have you heard of this one?
No.
It's an interesting one where there are two people that go off and watch a James Bond movie separately, and then they talk about it. And usually the other person hasn't seen the movie. So it's watching someone get exposed to a new James Bond movie for the first time with someone answering all the behind the scene questions like, what happened with this person? Why did this person do this? And that kind of thing. So that's fun. Then in terms of books, books for me, I actually prefer more fiction than I do nonfiction for books. I find my podcasts are my nonfiction fix. So for books, I do mostly audiobooks, and I recently saw the Ready Player One, the movie. Did you see that?
No.
Okay. Ready Player One, honest, amazing book, an amazing movie that for anyone that grew up in the 80s with video games and arcade games will immediately connect to. I watched the movie and then I heard about the audiobook, which was narrated by Will Wheaton from Star Trek The Next Generation, who did a great job. And if you are looking for a fun, just kind of geeky, nostalgic listen, I would recommend Ready Player One with Will Wheaton.
Excellent. Excellent. What's your favorite apps and why?
My favorite apps. I guess I can't say LinkedIn Learning.
You can say LinkedIn Learning.
That's by default.
That way I'll put it in the show notes, see, so people have got a direct link to it.
There you go. I like that. You know, the app that I got a lot more use out of than I expected is an app called Calm. Have you ever heard of it?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Meditation.
Yep. I have gotten the most out of that than I ever thought I would. And the whole idea, let me back up. I was one of those people that you hear about meditation, you're like, okay, right, whatever. And when I actually tried it and really kept up with the practice of it, it was surprising to me how much of an impact it had on my outlook, my ability to collaborate with other people, and my resiliency to interruptions or disturbances throughout my week. And I'd say that's probably the best app that I've had, hands down.
Yeah, interesting. I started on Headspace, a similar type app, November last year, and I went 6 months without interruption every single day. And I totally changed, if you like, how I can handle situations. And I suppose in the past I would have had quite an angry temperament and a lot of things that would irritate me. and those that know me well that are listening to this will know exactly what I mean. And I tell you, it's definitely just settled me right down. In fact, this week, for the first time, I've recorded my own 20-minute meditation that I have uploaded into my music player on my iPhone. So, I've kind of gone to that point now of actually recording my own, putting my own music, etc., behind them. Not music I've created, but so that's today was my first day of doing 20 minutes, but with my own voice, taking me into that meditative state. Very good, very good. Do you have any daily rituals that kind of set you on the right path for successful day?
Journaling.
Wow.
I journal almost every day. And it's a practice that I learned from Donna Sakar. And she and I, we actually, on a semi-regular basis, we try to work in a meeting every week where we talk about our journaling and what we've learned, and not necessarily share the specifics of what we've written, but just what are some of the things that we've discovered about ourselves that we want to share that the others might find. It takes the journaling process, and which is a very solitary, thoughtful, mindful activity, and it gives you some outlet to bring a little bit of what you've learned about yourself out in a safe environment for you to hear how other people think about that, for you to then employ that in the rest of your day. So that's been a wonderful thing that she and I have been able to do. Her practice is pretty simple. It's basically summarize the day before. What are 3 worries that you have today? What is something that you're grateful for? And what is the purpose of today? And just going through that basic daily ritual of answering those questions gets me to the point where I find that the things that I worry about, I find much less worrisome, or I even come up with a solution as I'm writing about it. And ending with what the purpose of today is gives me a good foundation for how I'm going to not even I usually do this first thing in the mornings. I don't even look at my calendar or know what I have to do or my email or anything like that. But it gives me a foundation without the noise of what the day's tasks are going to be, that I can then have everything settle onto a solid foundation.
Nice. No, very good. What's your best purchase under $100?
Mechanical keyboard. Hands down.
A mechanical keyboard.
Mm-hmm.
What do you mean by that?
A old school clicky mechanical keyboard. Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's one of the Razer gamer keyboards. And I find that I do a lot of writing, either it's emails or other things, but having the mechanical keyboard where I feel more of a tactile action of writing makes it seem much more real. I find that I'm much more aware of grammatical errors and spelling errors. My tone is better when I'm writing because I feel like I'm really writing. I'm not just sending a text message. I'm writing something cohesive.
Yeah, excellent, excellent. Who do you recommend as a guest on the podcast for future?
You have to forgive me. I saw this question earlier and I couldn't come up with one. So give me a moment on this one.
No, no problem.
Have you had Donna on?
Donna who?
Donna Sarkar?
No.
I would have Donna Sarkar on. Her official title is Chief Ninja Cat of the Windows Insider Program.
Sorry, I've seen her speak actually at a conference. I know who you mean.
Yes.
Yes.
She has this amazing ability to combine the ability of being an engineer manager and a leader, a community manager, the voice of millions that are going into an engineering development, obviously Windows, but also how to find side hustles that are fulfilling and can enrich your life beyond what you might be doing in your day job.
Right.
So she's a fiction writer. She is a fashion designer and is an amazing technology leader and advocate for others at Microsoft. And I find just as a wonderful person to collaborate with. So I would recommend her.
Excellent. Hey, Doug, it's been great to have you on the show. Before you go, if people want to connect with you online, where can they find you?
So best way is on LinkedIn, surprisingly. So you can find me on LinkedIn, linkedin.com/in/SF designer. I'm also on Twitter under the SF designer handle as well.
You've been listening to the Dynamics 365 show. Please consider subscribing to the feed on any great podcast player. Your host was Business Applications MVP Mark Smith, otherwise known as the NZ365 Guy. Please check out my YouTube channel for MVP videos that I post each month. You can find that on youtube.com/NZ365 Guy.